Jake Harrison was the kind of man people noticed without realizing they noticed him. Tall, broad-shouldered, the faded marine tattoo still inked along his arm, but with a quietness that seemed to swallow the room. He didn't talk, literally. His voice had been shattered in Afghanistan when shrapnel tore through his throat. Since then, every word was a painful rasp, so he stopped trying. The world learned to accept his silence. Now, Jake lived in a small town with his 8-year-old daughter, Emma. She was his reason for breathing, his anchor in the storm. He worked construction by day and spent evenings making sure Emma ate her vegetables, did her homework, and tucked her into bed with silly hand gestures that made her laugh until she cried. But beneath the surface, Jake carried the weight of a soldier who had seen too much. Nights were long. Memories were louder than any voice he could muster. The only escape was routine: go to work, care for Emma, stay unnoticed. One Friday night, Emma begged him to take her to Hank's Steakhouse, the town's favorite spot. Jake resisted at first. He hated crowds, hated the whispers of strangers wondering why he never spoke, but Emma's smile broke his defenses. "Just tonight, Daddy," she said, clutching his hand. "We'll sit in the corner. You don't even have to talk." So he agreed. Inside the steakhouse, the air smelled of sizzling beef and baked potatoes, laughter bouncing off the wooden walls. Emma's eyes lit up at the neon cowboy hat on the wall. Jake signed to her, "You pick anything you want." They sat quietly, enjoying the simple normalcy of a night out. But Jake's sharp veteran's instincts noticed something others missed. A man at the bar, jittery, scanning the room too often. His hand disappeared beneath his jacket more than once. Jake's pulse quickened. He knew that look. That body language. That was the posture of someone about to do something terrible. And then, at the far end of the steakhouse, Police Chief Daniel Morales walked in. Everyone greeted him warmly. He was respected, the kind of man who shook hands with the townsfolk and remembered birthdays. But the jittery man's eyes locked onto the chief with a hate so raw it made Jake's stomach drop. Jake's throat tightened, not from fear, but from the reality of what he had to do. He couldn't yell, couldn't warn anyone. His silence was both his curse and his shield. If he stood up suddenly, the man at the bar might react. If he did nothing, Morales might not live to see tomorrow. Emma tugged at his sleeve, whispering, "Daddy? What's wrong?" Jake's eyes darted to hers. He pressed a finger to his lips, the universal signal for silence. For once, Emma didn't argue. She trusted him. The man at the bar reached beneath his jacket again. Jake rose slowly, his chair scraping just enough to draw attention. The jittery man's eyes snapped to him, startled. Jake moved with calm precision, like a soldier back on patrol. His silence wasn't weakness now, it was strategy. Step by step, Jake closed the distance, pretending to head toward the restroom. But his eyes never left the man's hand. In one swift move, Jake lunged just as the man pulled a pistol free. The gun never had the chance to point toward Morales. Jake's hand clamped the attacker's wrist, twisting it downward. The weapon clattered to the floor. Chaos erupted, shouts, screams, chairs scraping back. But Jake moved like he had been trained for this his whole life. He pinned the man to the floor, using nothing but muscle memory and raw determination. Chief Morales rushed over, stunned. Who are you?" he gasped. Jake didn't answer. He couldn't. He just shook his head. His silence, once misunderstood, now carried more power than any words. The chief cuffed the attacker, realizing Jake had just saved his life. People clapped, cheered, thanked him. But Jake only searched for Emma. She stood near their table, eyes wide but safe. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. Later that night, Morales visited their small home. He didn't come as the chief, but as a father, as a man whose life had been spared. He placed a hand on Jake's shoulder and said, "You don't need words to be heard. Tonight, your silence spoke louder than anything I've ever known." Emma beamed at her father. "See, Daddy? You don't have to talk. People can still hear you." For the first time in years, Jake felt his chest loosen. His scars, his silence, his battles, they hadn't broken him. They had shaped him into exactly the man he needed to be.